For me, you know, I missed a lot of shots, you know, because I was trying to be cool. We were standing out front and Tupac came up. He was tripping that we were standing outside. So he was like, hey, don't you know who these guys are? You know, let them in. If I would have had that shot of us kicking it and those security dudes there and him tripping on them,
yeah,
that would have been one of the sickest photos ever, you know?
Who's the champion? We the champion.
No one.
I the champion.
We're the champion sound. Forever ready if there's ever a problem. Haters don't want none till I'm moving caution.
And you could never stop running when you see me pop. When you spit it, you feel a little hesitation. You're so brittle. Who's the champion? We the champion.
No one.
I the champion.
We're the champion sound.
What's your favorite era of hip-hop? Mine is the 90s, the golden era. Like, you know, because I think that's when everybody was just so dynamic, everyone had a sound.
Mine is the 90s too, because that's when, for me, for our movement, it started in the 90s. And it just felt like that's when it popped off. And in the beginning of it, it was like fresh and new. It was brand new to everything and everybody.
Right.
And everywhere we went, like I feel like we're ahead of our time. Like everything we did, it took a little bit to catch on, but once it caught on, people were like, oh man,
oh yeah,
there they are, the Soul Assassins, you know? And just a trip, you know, going around and it was always like we were breaking, you know how they say, like breaking a record. It seemed like we were breaking
new ground.
Every time we went somewhere, everything that we did, and the way you and Stan rapped, and the clothes that we did, and the art that we did, and the photography.
Yeah, we had our own unique take on the culture, you know what I mean?
We had our own culture within the culture.
Just brought it to everybody.
Yeah.
Brought it to 50 states and 55 countries.
I mean, artists these days use so many producers for one album, and you don't have that cohesiveness, and that's what I liked about the 90s, is that artists used to do that. One producer
had their sound.
Yeah.
And now a bunch of producers try to make a different sound outside of themselves.
Yeah.
They'll chase like the sound of the moment.
It's like gumbo.
Yeah.
It was a lot different now than it was then, you know? People weren't used to having cameras in their faces, and there wasn't so much of it, you know? Now everything, like you can drive down the street and see somebody have like a little stand, and they're making their little TikTok videos and stuff, dancing on the street, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
Back then, if we would have seen that in the 90s, we would have thought they were crazy. You know, somebody dancing on the street with their little phone up, we'd be like, what the heck is that, you know? Muggs came at me with, hey, I got a opportunity I'd like to, you know, throw your way, tour managing House of Pain. I had no idea what it was like, you know the way the homies, whenever they explain something to you, it says, they started with, oh, you just have to do this, and you just have to do that.
It's easy.
Yeah, it's easy. All you have to do is just make sure they're on stage at time, make sure they're on their interviews at time.
I just wanted them to do yeah. I didn't want to tell them everything.
And man, I don't know if I probably would have done it if he would have told me like everything.
It's a lot of responsibility.
Yeah, you're a security, you're an accountant, you're a travel agent,
your mother, your father,
manager,
big brother,
psychologist,
babysitter. Yeah.
You know, but touring for me, I'd say the most impressed I was at a show was at Woodstock.
Yeah.
When we, like, that day was I don't even remember all of it. If I didn't have photos, I probably wouldn't remember 75% of it, because I was just so in the zone. But one of my most iconic favorite photos is that day at Woodstock, when I got B in the crowd, I got you, like right at the wall between the fans. And all the fans are like this.
Yeah. It's a good
and
one.
you're just like, it looked like, you know, one of them revolutionary speeches. And even the one of Muggs when he flipped the turntables and everything at the end of the show. Because that was, you know, that was day one. As far as me being on the road with you guys and taking photos.
I mean, I constantly get video clips of when I jumped in the crowd and you and Gator were pulling me back out from the crowd when I got my shoes and socks snatched off of my feet. Thank God for said dog's 10 and a half. Down there I had to squeeze in those extra shell toes you had.
Always keep an extra pair of shoes on deck, just in case. Your father's a photographer as well.
Gilberto.
Yeah. And when you were a kid growing up with him, did that have something to do with who you became?
You know, because him and my mom split up when I was 3 years old, so I wasn't around him that much except for holidays and summertime. So when I did get with him, he was always taking me to different museums and art shows and putting me up on game on, you know, a lot of the art world. But I never really saw him taking pictures and be like, that's what I want to do. You know, or be like, hey, Dad, can I take some pictures? You know, it's more like when he saw me touring with you guys and in the lowrider scene, he was like, hey, you should take some pictures of that stuff. And I was like, okay, cool. But when he handed me the camera, I was, you know, it was so foreign to me. I was like, what am I supposed to do with this thing? So I didn't really bust it out too much. And then the way I learned how to take photos was he just gave me like a 5-minute lesson. You know, he's like, look through the thing, and when you line up these two dials inside there, it's ready to shoot. And that was my photography school. So
quick and easy.
Yeah, 5-minute plan, you know. So
Yeah.
for me, you know, I missed a lot of shots, you know, because I was trying to be cool. Like, I don't know who I was with, but we were at one of those like Jack the Rapper type things in New York, and we were standing out front, and Tupac came up, and he was tripping that we were standing outside, because there was like two, you know, the big securities they used to have back in the day over there.
Yeah.
So he was like, hey, don't you know who these guys are? You know, let them in. And he started tripping on them, and I was like, I always remember in my head that if I would have had that shot of us kicking it and those security dudes there and him tripping on them,
Yeah.
that would have been one of the sickest photos ever, you know? There's just so many people that I was trying to be cool and just be like, oh, I'll get a picture of them later, you know? I look back on it now and just be like, yeah, I could have probably...
You don't let an opportunity go by.
Yeah, now it's like, you know, I don't overdo it, but I'm thinking like, okay, this might be one of those ones where I might not get it, and I got to make that move, you know?
That's what's up.
You got to ask those questions.
I still do it in a cool way, you know, because there is a right and a wrong way to do it, but...
What's your style?
It's called
How do you
etiquette.
describe your style, Holmes?
My style is rough, rugged, and raw.
That's it.
You know, that's the solo assassin way, you know?
That's right.
But my most iconic for sure is probably this little one here, the LA Fingers.
Yeah.
And, you know, that's taken me all around the world, and without me even leaving, you know, LA. It's like that picture's done a few laps around the world, and it's even a trip to see people in other countries throwing up LA. Like when we go to Japan or Australia, you know, that's one thing they're doing while you guys are performing, is they're like throwing up LA, and that always tripped me out to see, like, dang, that's a trip that they do that over here, you know?
That's
Because
heavy.
I don't think nobody over here is doing that for any other city
Yeah.
in another country, you know?
Yeah, I was gonna say that the LA Fingers too. Because
You
it
were?
Yeah, I was.
All right.
Because that is one of the most iconic and imitated shots
Yeah.
all around.
I'll drink to that.
Who's the champion? We the champion. I the champion.
With the champion sound.